not knowing what everyone says about me.
My worst fear is turning 18 and not being protected by being a student.
Now it's just gotten really hard that there's not enough money to be here anymore.
We use the word migrate, we don't use the word immigrate. And so undocumented folks, when they first cross to this country, so folks are forced to migrate to this country for a lot of reasons. And we use the word migrate, we don't use the word immigrate. And there's a subtle difference between the two, but it's an important difference. Immigration, like by definition, implies a choice, implies sort of like a frivolous, like, oh, you know, I'd like to go to Europe this week, you know, and hang out. Where migration is what birds do when the weather gets too cold or too hot. Migration is what every species, including human beings, do to survive. And so we like to use the word migrate because we feel that most of the folks that are coming north to the United States and have been doing so for thousands of years are doing it out of a very need to survive. Some of that is U.S. policies that have made it very hard to live in places like Mexico and Central America, policies like NAFTA and CAFTA. Some of it has been wars, like Central American wars that we supported, and we armed and militarized destructive forces, and folks had to flee that violence. So these are survival decisions. They're not frivolous, I just want to spend the summer in Hawaii kind of decisions. They're, I need to save my family kind of decisions.
Both my parents are immigrants and my only sister as well.
I am originally from Guerrero, from Mexico. I got here with a fake ID. I came here when I was 3 years old.
I was born in a small town in Mexico, Michoacán, Lombardia.
Parents, however, were a mixed status family. My mom is Puerto Rican. We get papers whether we like it or not. And then my dad is Ecuadorian, and he was undocumented for most of my childhood.
It was really hard because I saw my dad suffering a lot once his father passed away, and it just made me realize that so many people have to have the struggle every day, knowing that they left so much behind and having to start all over. And it was just really hard just to see that happen and knowing that I had to go through that as well.
It's hard, I'm not gonna lie. There have been times where my parents have said that they should help me get my citizenship, but I haven't heard exactly what should be done.
There's a very clearly anti-immigrant sentiment that has taken hold all over the Republican Party in this country, and they've been behind a lot of horrible anti-immigrant laws like SB 1070 in Arizona, which legalized racial profiling, and copycat laws that went up in 6 states after that. But even beyond the sort of South and Arizona, across the country, over 160 pieces of legislation have been passed that I would categorize as anti-immigrant. Some of them at the state level, some of them at the city level, at the county level. A lot of anti-immigrant stuff's happening all across the country.
DACA is a new policy that Obama passed in August 15 of 2012. It gives undocumented students a 2-year work permit. And this law was supposed to come out on June 15th, but when it came to Congress, Obama did not have an application ready or any guidelines. So he did it until August 15th, and when it came out, he only said that it was going to be a 2 work permit. It's scary because you don't know what's going to happen after those 2 years. It's just you're going to be in records, and just like the new law that happened in New York, if you're stopped by a police, your records go to the FBI, and the FBI has the right now to send your records to ICE, so ICE can just deport you.
My sister can, but she'd rather just wait or not even apply at all because she has that fear of getting deported as well. And since she has a baby now, it's just going to be harder since the baby was born here and he has papers, and my sister doesn't. She'll have to leave him behind or like take him with him, but it would be so much harder. And my parents are like highly encouraging her to do it, but there's pros and cons to both of it.
We chose the number 67 very consciously. 67% is 2/3. And there was a lot of reasons that this 2/3 number was really important. 1 out of 3 undocumented youth might make it to college and qualify for the DREAM Act because of that. So the other 2 are sort of unspoken for in the DREAM Act, because the DREAM Act no longer offers any path to legalization for young folks who are not either clearly on a path to college or willing to fight and die in the military. And we feel like we should give better options to our youth and a path to legalization to every undocumented young person in this country. So we're trying to push in the DREAM Act conversation to re-include the original piece of the DREAM Act that said that you could legalize through community service. That was a path that was accessible to all undocumented youth, regardless of class, regardless of educational attainment, what have you. And so we represent that 67% that's excluded, and we want to push to get them included.
My hopes are that I could get legal status. I really want to benefit from equal rights as any other person. My dreams are going to college next year. Just hoping that I could pay off my tuition, knowing that my parents would just not earn enough for me to go to college.
Well, I plan on applying for college.
It feels like we're returning to that people power strategy that got us listened to in the first place. It feels like folks are realizing that. They had their adventure with the Democratic Party. They realized that they're not going to do it without a lot of people power pressure. And now we're returning to that strategy. So there's things like NIA, the National Immigrant Youth Alliance, amazing group of undocumented youth organizing themselves, not through a nonprofit that's tied to the political parties, but through their own organizing, through their own collective organizing. We have folks here in the Bay Area, like the San Francisco Immigrant Youth Coalition that was just recently born again, organizing themselves, demanding way more than sort of the middle-of-the-road movement was, and getting nowhere from Washington. These are the ones that sat in on Obama's campaign offices, and they, in 1 week, got more out of this administration than all the lobbying and sort of nonprofit efforts did in 4 years. So I think that these lessons are creating excitement. There was the Undocubus. Undocubus was super exciting. It's sort of a throwback to the civil rights movement. 30 undocumented people hopped on a bus and toured the South and challenged Joe Arpaio, the racist sheriff in Arizona. They went to the Democratic National Convention and challenged the Democrats to do something for their issue. They did all these civil disobedience actions on a road trip, much like the freedom rides in the civil rights movement did that to desegregate, lunch counters and things in the South. So I'm seeing like a realization in this movement and a maturity in this movement that the only way we're going to make change is people power. The only way we're going to make change is pressuring, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, with people power, costing them votes, costing them political sort of shots in public, right? And so that excites me.